Hello everyone, Oliver here. So today we're gonna do something different. We're gonna dive into organic Japanese green tea and we're gonna do a matcha tasting. So what I received from our farmer, Mr. Sato, was a contact to a matcha farmer, and he actually sent us these three. So we have an organic matcha silver, he's called. This is the most expensive one. Then we have a Nokumidori and we have a Samidori. So these are the three matchas we're actually tasting, and I just guide you a little bit through what I'm looking for when I do this tasting. So what do we need? We need the chusan, or if you have a milk froth at home to do your matcha, then we have the chashaku, the chawan, and we brought here the sifter. So let's dive directly into it. So what's a little bit special is that he actually sent this in a transparent form, but he packed it in this seal. So always remember to put your matcha in a dark place, because the light actually influences the color and thus also the taste of the matcha. So let's just take out here 2 scoops, one, and then the second one, 2. Good, very beautiful. Then second one is the Okumidori. So the first one was the silver matcha. It's also quite an expensive matcha, so this will be then cost-wise, it would be over $50. A tin of 40 grams. So then the second one. A little bit much. Good. Here we will be at around. Good. Here we are around $45 for a 40 gram tin. And with this one here, just a Samidori, which is the cheapest of all of them, and here we will be around $35. Good. So the Samidori is actually a cultivar I don't know that much, because it's not so known as a cultivar, so it's not to be exchanged or taken as the so-called Samidori. So this is a Samidori, and the Samidori itself really is not so much spread, but from time to time I see it with matchas. So this is a tea which I'm curious now to taste, especially in comparison. To compare, I got my 3 double-walled glasses from Bodum, and then we're just gonna dive into this. So let's just compare already in color. So here we have the silver matcha. Then next to it we have the Okumidori. These two look quite similar. So when we look at them, not a big difference. But when you look at the Samidori, here is the Samidori and here is the Okumidori, so we see a color difference clearly existent. So let's dive into it. So number 1, sifter. And we're gonna just sift it through. So you have seen that it's already used, my sifter. I did already before a tasting, but on the second one I said I'm gonna share this with you, that you just see how I do this. So very important, sift your matcha. Here I have around 2 grams, which I'm using, a little bit less. Good, that is number 1. Then 75 degrees Celsius water, so around 165 to 170 Fahrenheit. Then we're gonna whisk it. And that's it. So you can see it's a nice foam which is developing. This is often with matchas that actually have quite a high amount of amino acids, so a high amount of theanine and a high amount of sweetness. A little bit out of my experience, these are the ones that give the nicest and smallest bubbles, but it is not a quality indicator itself. So it's just an indicator of how sweet the cultivar itself is. Then let's go into number 2. Just gonna wash this out shortly. To really separate them well in terms of taste. Then number 2. So now we go into Okomidori, one of my favorites. This is actually a crossbreed of Yabugita and wild, so-called Sairai, so wild cultivar. And it is not that widespread, but it comes a little bit more into vogue in Japan due to the fact that actually this tea is quite smooth. What is missing for some Japanese tea consumers is that the Okomidori is round, sweet, but has no real edges to itself, so it's kind of smooth, sweet, but often Japanese tea drinkers, they also want a little bit of astringency with their tea. So with this one, you don't really have it. But what we came to learn is that really this is something in the West, or a cultivar which is very, very much liked in the West. So we as Westerners, as we don't look for too much astringency, this tea is actually one that's quite famous. That's why I'm curious to try this. And voila. Now you saw I didn't use the same amount of water, so I will just fill it a little bit up. Voila. So we have the same level, so same water amount used, as we're using the similar amount or same amount of powder. Good, we wash this for a 3rd time. And then we're gonna hop into the Samidori. I once received the Samidori, actually it's quite nice, from another farmer, but it was a little bit expensive. So this one here is a little bit cheaper. So let's see. Good. So also sift everything through. So also this farmer is coming from the region of Shizuoka. And now I'm curious. Often when you're looking for teas in Japan, the best way to find another farmer is to actually be referred by one. So here that Mr. Sato gave us the contact to this farmer. Actually brings my hopes up that we could have here really good matcha, but let's have a look. So again, with the sifting, and also here we have a very nice foam. The bubbles are a little bit bigger, as you can see. Some of them are a little bit bigger, as with the Okomidori before. Wow, gives a very nice foam as well. So we can really see the 3 different matchas here to have a look at. So this is silver, Okomidori, and then here the Samidori. Now I would say we go from the silver one. So this is the most expensive. Yeah, super sweet, super light. No astringency at all, it's really impressive. I get the edamame, I get a banana peel, not too sweet, very light, so a lightness. Sometimes if you want to have a strong matcha, for example for matcha latte, you need a matcha which is strong, which has more taste character. This one here would be way too fine, so you would really lose it in the matcha latte. So this is really made for pure drinking. Super interesting, no sweetness, very light, very fine, so definitely a great matcha. But given the price of over $50 for 30 grams, not sure if this is worth the money, but definitely an impressive sweetness. Then, second one, Okomidori. Actually, I must say, even though the price is super different, they're quite close to each other. This one here has a smoothness more. It's a little bit finer, round, but it's super delicate. So you really have to be, in my opinion, an advanced matcha drinker if you want to dive into this, and really you can enjoy this. But well, given that this tea nearly, so this one here nearly costs double of this one, and the Okomidori stays a very smooth, very good matcha. Compared to the Washimine, which is also an Okomidori, which we have in our assortment, it's a little bit lighter, a little bit round, a little bit sweeter, but super interesting in terms of kind of this round sweetness without the astringency. So I still believe Okomidori, it's a great matcha. If you ever want to dive into matcha and you want to have something which is sweet, Okomidori is definitely a way to go. Good, so these were these two. Now let's go to the Samidori. Clearly more astringent, harsher. It's kind of harsher, a little bit more malty. So in terms of this green, light green and freshness, it's much more earthy, much more, it gives a little bit more depth to the tea, but in the same time, it's just not this kind of beautiful, light, sweet roundness with this sugary, sweet kind of fruitiness, which you get definitely from the first two. This one here, and you also see it in the color really of the powder. So this is the Samidori, and maybe just hold them next to each other. I don't know if you can see it, but definitely the Okomidori here, this one here, is a little bit brighter in its color. So this is definitely something you have to look for. Look at the bright color if you want to go for a good one, but then you definitely have still these differences. So here I would say you really have a difference in terms of lightness, sweetness. You get more of a kind of a light peachy apricot flavor profile, while when you go to the Okomidori, there's more edamame flavor in it. It is not so light, not so kind of, doesn't have this typical stone fruit. It's also sweet, but a little bit more around banana peel, and it has this round, a little bit more vegetal taste. So you definitely can feel as well the yabukita, which is kind of the base also of the Okomidori, as it was one of the plants which was used for the crossbreed. Here, this one here, I would say it might be a Saemidori. So this is not the Samidori, but the Saemidori. It could be that it's kind of a, it must be a blend. So it's a blend of different cultivars, but quite an impressive matcha. Here, as I said, you get also a little bit more full-bodied flavor profile. With this one here, you're very much in the lightness, you're very much in this fine, sweet, delicate notes. Here there's kind of more character, more roundness, and this is also something I get normally from the Okomidori. And the third one, yeah, it's just more astringent. It's not a pleasurable experience. So definitely I will sort this one here out. It was nice to experience the Samidori, but in this case the Samidori is not absolutely my favorite in this tasting. Here, price-wise, I would definitely go for the Okomidori, so value for money. It's really good quality, and Okomidori, as it is not so known, as it's not so widespread, and it's kind of not a sought-after tea. Here, the Okomidori is also, in terms of pricing, you can get quite good ones, which are from this cultivar, and this, the silver matcha. I would say it's slightly overpriced, but it is a great experience. It is light, it is smooth, not astringent. So a very beautiful taste profile, but given the price that you pay over $50 a tin, then I would, my personal kind of position as a consumer would then be, I wouldn't go too much into this direction. But maybe from time to time it could be worth a try. Good. So this is this. I made here this tasting. I hope you like this one too. And as always, leave a comment if you have a question. I'm happy to answer them. And until next time, see you. Bye bye.